remember the exact moment I first heard her voice. It was a Tuesday, though the days had begun to blend. I was sitting before a cold, black screen in my study, easing into my nightly video consultations. I'd just finished grading case files from the day: 3 violent burglaries, 2 domestic disputes, 1 confessed arson. My fingers were still stained with ink, my tie loosened, the harsh glow of my desk lamp pooling on topographical brain scans and neatly stacked journals. Pressed the connect button at precisely 10:03 p.m. Protocol insisted on punctuality. I'd never missed a session in 10 years. But instead of my usual roster of parolees, trauma survivors, or anxious inmates, an empty window blinked back at me. The system's text read, "Patient ID, unreachable." My pulse fluttered. Assumed a glitch. I reached to refresh, then heard her, "Dr. Vale." No name appeared on the display. No static, no video feeds, just a voice, clear and calm, as if she'd been standing in the room all along. "Patient," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. The silence on the other end stretched thin, taut like a wire under tension. "Don't worry," she said softly. "You'll see me soon enough." A beat passed, and then the call ended. I leaned back, heart hammering beneath my tailored jacket. A malfunction, I told myself. I tapped my microphone. No response. I exhaled relief mixed with lingering dread, then logged off. The man in the mirror, I studied the mind. I often reminded colleagues, with mild pride. I, Adrian Vale, PhD, was known for my unwavering logic. A forensic psychologist whose analysis had solidified convictions and exonerated the innocent. My academic papers on cognitive dissonance in violent offenders were lauded at conferences. My home and office were ordered. Labels on binders, rows of clinical tomes aligned by ISBN, evening plans arranged down to the minute. But on that night, as I shut down my workstation and strode to the floor-to-ceiling mirror in my hallway, I barely recognized the man staring back. My dark hair was disheveled, suit rumpled. Deep-set eyes, once sharp with analytical fire, now flickered with uncertainty. I touched the cold glass and forced a smile when I practiced countless times for witnesses. But the reflection wavered, as if the glass had melted at the edges. I blinked. Twice, a silence that screams my study was silent except for the hum of the air conditioner. Yet I could swear I heard faint breathing behind me, quick and shallow. I spun, but there was nothing. Just the familiar mahogany shelves lined with binders. Case studies, A to Z. Violent delinquents, under 25. Unsolved murders of the Midwest. My skin prickled. The logical parts of my brain catalogued possible explanations. Phantom sounds, tinnitus, a loose vent cover. But an undercurrent whispered, maybe it wasn't a glitch. I returned to my desk and reopened the call log. There it was, a single entry at 22:03. Anonymous. No duration, no IP address, no profile. Just that one furtive digital footprint. Memory's iron grip sleep eluded me. I tried the usual, a chamomile tea, a run through new case notes, a breathing exercise I taught patients. Still, my thoughts circled the unseen caller. My dreams that night were jagged shards of half-remembered crimes. A woman's scream in an abandoned warehouse. A child's teddy bear drenched in crimson. A chalk outline bleeding into the asphalt. When dawn finally crept through the blinds, I was pacing my bedroom, tie clutched in one hand, phone in the other. 24 unread messages from my assistant. I let them sit. The only call I wanted to make was to I. But something in me hesitated. First cracked that afternoon, I sat before my conference table in the clinic. 3 colleagues joined via video for our weekly review. I nodded and took notes, but my mind replayed the empty screen, her disembodied voice, the promise, "You'll see me soon enough." In the margin of my notepad, I sketched concentric circles, my personal target, center locked on an ashen silhouette. I scribbled beneath, "Unseen patient gives unknown agenda." Next to it, "Risk level, high." My handwriting trembled. When the meeting ended, I straightened my posture, voice firm as I spoke. "I'll handle IT. The anomaly won't recur." I convinced myself and everyone else. A fissure in certainty back in my office. I shut the blinds, lit a single candle beside my monitor. I replayed the call log again and again, convinced I'd missed a detail. That's when the first document shifted on my shelf. Case studies, in between manslaughter and marauder, stepped forward, sliding onto the floor. I froze. My gaze snapped to the spines. Nothing else moved. My logical mind raced. An imperfect shelf, perhaps, or a tremor. But as I bent to pick it up, the title caught my eye. M. Harlow, serial arsonist. My breath caught at the memory. Michael Harlow. He was the first case I ever assisted on as a graduate intern to my reputation. He'd burned 3 homes, murdered 2 neighbors, left that charred teddy bear at the 3rd scene, and then he vanished. No body, no confession, nothing. The trial collapsed. He disappeared from every roster, every database. Like a ghost, I'd never written about him. That file had been quarantined, yet here it lay at my feet. I stared at the clock, 9:59 p.m., and my hand hovered over the mouse. My rational mind yelled, "Don't do it." But something deeper, a mixture of dread and morbid curiosity, compelled me to press connect. The screen flickered. I waited, breath shallow. At 10:02, the video window remained empty. My log read simply, "Anonymous, connected." Then, click. A soft exhale sounded through my speakers. "Dr. Vale," she murmured, voice even, measured. No emotion. "Good evening," I said, swallowing the tightness in my throat. "You're back." Another pause. "I missed you." My pulse spiked. Missed me. I'd never heard her voice before last night. Not really. The words felt personal, disquieting details. I cleared my throat. "Shall we begin?" She nodded, though I saw nothing. "Do you remember October 12th, 2017? I frowned. "You mean when I testified in the Liverpool arson case?" She laughed. A fragile sound. "That was September." My stomach clenched. "Then, what happened October 12th? Silence. "Then, the night you burned your own house down." The room went cold. My mind raced through every logical possibility. "My house. You left your wife and daughter trapped in the bedroom," she said. Tone flat. "Saved only yourself." My vision narrowed. I felt nauseated. "That never happened." "Huh." Voice dropped. "Are you sure?" The first crack Wyden's eyes slammed my hand on the desk. Papers fluttered. "You're lying, am I?" She paused, then continued as if reading from a script. "You found them. They were dead. You cut the rope yourself." I pressed my palms to my temples. "No, stop. Name someone else," she whispered. "Someone you trust." My thoughts sputtered, memories splintering. I saw flames, crimson-shaded, licking the walls of a child's room. My own scream, hollow. A rope's coarse fibers cutting into my fingertips as I freed her. Or did I? "Dr. Vale," I blinked, back in my office. My heart pounded so loud, I swear the walls trembled. What do you want? Truth. The investigation begins. I cut the call immediately. My hands shook as I logged into secure files. Case notes. Personal records. Nothing. No record of any fire at my address. No missing persons report. No coroner's files. My rational self scoured every database, local fire department, FBI's National Crime Information Center, insurance claims. Zero results. Yet the memory vivid, searing, refused to vanish. I sank into my chair, sweat trickling down my spine. Unseen manipulator. Over the next 3 days, I avoided my study. I worked from the clinic's basement office, under fluorescent lights flickering with each passing moment. But each night, at 10 o'clock, the same prompt blinked on my home screen. Anonymous, scheduled, and despite every instinct, I returned. On the 4th night, I steeled myself. Before connecting, I recorded audio. My voice calm and measured. This call is being recorded for quality assurance. State your name. Silence. Then, I have no name. Her voice cracked like porcelain under strain. But I know yours. My breath hitched. I tried to speak, but she continued. I know the cases you never wrote, the confessions you shredded, the mistakes you buried. My stomach rolled. The files I'd locked away after I'd killed my first high-profile suspects. Credibility of work gone. Files I'd never mentioned in any paper. How I whispered, "Sanity is overrated," she said. "Your secrets are mine to expose." Echoes of the past. That night, I barely slept. Fragments of recollection haunted me. A kindergarten classroom, the smell of burnt toast wafting through corridors. My mother's trembling voice urging me to run. The wail of sirens. When morning came, I found a package on my doorstep. No return address. Inside, a single Polaroid photo. A young girl, blonde curls, matted with soot, clutching a singed teddy. Bear, on the back, scrawled in a familiar hand. You left her to die. The girl's face was blurred, yet I recognized her posture, her small hand gripping the toy. Tears blurred my vision. Trust erodes. I carried the photo to my closest friend and colleague, Dr. Elena Marsh. Over coffee, I slid it across the table. Her eyes widened. "Where did you get this?" My voice faltered. "I don't know. Elena studied it. That bear. It's the same one from the Harlow case." My fingertip traced the edge. Michael Harlow's teddy bear. "My God," Elena whispered. "That file was sealed." "I know." I pushed the photo across again. "Someone's playing me." She reached for my hand. "Take a leave. Get away from all this." I pulled back. "You don't understand." I swallowed. "I need to finish this." Elena's gaze hardened. "Don't let it finish you." The spiral. That night, I sat in darkness, the Polaroid pinned above my monitor with a single pushpin. My lamp remained off, screen on, candle guttered beside the keyboard. At 10 o'clock on the dot, I braced for it. "Dr. Vale," she greeted. "Why me?" I demanded, "Why now?" Her laughter was ice. "Because you're the only one who can hear me." I clenched my fists. "Prove it." "Look behind you." I froze. I wanted to tell myself it was a trick hallucination spurred by exhaustion. Yet my neck hairs stood on end. I shook my head, eyes locked on the screen, empty as ever. "Look," she repeated, softer, despite every instinct. I turned slowly. My study's door was ajar. Beyond it, in the dim hallway light, stood a silhouette, slight feminine, No features, just shadow. My chest constricted. I whirled back to the screen. Nothing. The call had ended. My rational side screamed hallucination. But the echo of her laughter lingered, a dark lullaby in the silence. I couldn't sleep. My bed felt like a cage. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard her voice, soft, insistent whispering. "You forgot again." I lay motionless, staring at the cracked ceiling. The air smelled faintly of smoke, though I was miles from any fire. My pulse thudded in my temples. I reached for my phone. 2:13 a.m. No missed calls, no new messages. Yet my finger itched to dial Alina, to beg her to take me in, to save me from myself. Instead, I sat up, swung my legs over the side, and padded to my study. The room greeted me like a shrine to my unraveling mind, the Polaroid's pushpin shadow. Dancing on the wall, the candle reduced to a short, weeping nub. I lit it again and sank into my chair. Paranoias gripped the moment. I opened my laptop. An email notification pinged. I froze. I hadn't connected to the internet. The header read, "Truth is only the beginning." No address, no signature. My chest tightened. I shut the laptop and flung it aside. It hit the floor with a dull thud. My rational brain attempted triage. Maybe I'd left it in hotel mode, maybe proxy settings. But as I stared at the silent machine, I realized I hadn't typed that message, hallucinations or warnings. Over the next 2 days, I drifted through my life like a specter. At the clinic, I felt eyes on me. Patients whispered in waiting rooms. Colleagues shot furtive glances. Sometimes I caught myself recoiling, convinced anyone would leap out and reveal the truth, that I was a monster. One afternoon, in front of a mirror in the restroom, I watched my reflection tremble. I raised a shaking hand to my face, and my reflection didn't match my movement. It lingered, smirking, before snapping back in sync. I gasped, yanked open the door, and fled into the hallway. No one saw me. No one cared. Memory fragments in the half-light of my study that night. I opened the quarantined Harlow file. Photographs spilled onto my desk. House on fire, victims clawing at windows, hoses spraying futilely, and there my signature calm expression in a mirror I recognized as my childhood home's foyer. I shook my head. These can't be mine. But the writing on the back of one image Dr. Avail was unmistakable. My own loopy script. Trembling, I flipped to the last page of my case notes. A scrawled confession, unsigned. I did this. I had to save her. They wouldn't let me. She screamed. I screamed. It ended. My breath caught. The words pulsed with my handwriting's pressure. Breaking point by the 4th night. I'd taken only 2 hours of fitful sleep. My body ached. My mind ached worse. I could no longer tell whether the shadows in my room were real shapes or projections of my guilt. At exactly 10 p.m., I sat before the dark screen. The candle guttered out. The room fell silent, then the soft click as the call connected. "Why won't you let me rest?" I rasped. She was silent a long moment. Then, "Because you're not done." Her words were a hammer blow. "What do you want from me?" Withholding the truth is an act of violence. I slammed my fist on the desk. "How dare you? Did you love her?" she asked, voice gentle. I froze. Love. That word felt like a splinter in my chest. "Your daughter," she continued, was terrified. My vision blurred. I staggered to the window and peered out into the dark street. No one there, just lamplight pooling on empty pavement. I sank to the floor. Emotional collapse stares spilled down my cheeks, first one, then a rush stares I hadn't shed since my mother died. I cradled my head in my hands, rocking softly. The candle's flame danced, casting my silhouette large and warped against the wall. Through my tears, I heard her whisper, "Admit it." Admit what? That I'd lied to myself for a decade. That I'd buried the worst of me beneath a fortress of rationality. I closed my eyes. My daughter's face flickered, her wide blue eyes reflecting firelight, her tiny hand reaching for me. I remembered the choking smoke, the rope's bite against her wrists, the weight dragging at my shoulders. A groan escaped my lips. I wanted to run, to kill the device, to erase every trace of this nightmare. Descent into desperation, I snapped open my laptop and summoned a blank document. My fingers hovered, then began to type. I remember the fire. I remember her face. I remember my hands. The screen blurred as tears fell, smudging the letters. I pressed save file name, confession.docx. I locked my computer and pocketed the flash drive. A flicker of resolve dawn came too soon. I collapsed in a chair, exhausted, broken. But nestled within the chaos in my mind was a singular thought. I must confront this, not tomorrow, not later, tonight. I would push through the terror, push through the uncertainty. I would force this unseen caller to show herself. Because if my sanity depended on it, if the tiniest fragment of truth lay buried in those nightmarish memories, I needed to uncover it. And if it destroyed me in the process, so be it. When dawn broke, the world felt alien. My study, once a haven of order, had become a funhouse of distorted reflections and murmurs that danced at the edge of hearing. I rubbed my temples and rose, wincing at a new ache between my shoulder blades. My gaze landed on the confession file, -confession.doc. X still open on my laptop, its cursor blinking accusingly. I closed it, then reopened. The text had changed. New lines, details I hadn't written, appeared in my handwriting. She looked at me with betrayal in her eyes. I held the matches like they were medicine, yet they killed more than the flames. My breath caught. I didn't remember writing that shifting shadows I stood and walked to the door, every step echoing unnaturally loud. The hallway stretched farther than it should, an optical illusion, perhaps, or my fraying nerves. As I passed the bathroom mirror, I paused, expecting to see the same trembling reflection. Instead, I saw her. A woman stood behind me, blurred at the edges, dark hair cascading over pale shoulders, her gaze fixed on me, empty yet intense. I spun nothing. The hallway was empty. My rational mind barked, "You're hallucinating." My instinct screamed, "She's real." I leaned against the wall, heart pounding. What is real? Lost in the maze. By midday, I'd wandered my own home for hours, tracing the same steps. Desk gives, window gives, bookshelf gives, mirror. Each landmark felt both familiar and foreign, as though my house had been redrawn while I slept. On my kitchen counter, I found another photo. This time, my wife's smiling arm around our daughter, standing before a roaring fire. The flames danced. In the background, eyes glowing. On the back, in scrawled ink, you watched them burn. I crumpled the Polaroid, but the image burned itself into my mind. The sound of laughter, high-pitched and mocking, bounced off the walls. I staggered to the sink, splashed cold water on my face. My reflection reappeared, normal, then flickered. Her face slid, features elongating into a twisted grin. I fell to my knees. The unseen dialogues, 10 p.m. I sat before the dark screen once more, candle-lit matchbox open. My throat was raw from screaming at nothing. The call connected. Her voice, soft as velvet. "You're lost." I closed my eyes. "I don't know what's real anymore. You know more than you admit." I opened my eyes. The room behind me had changed. My textbooks lay scattered on the floor, pages torn. My certificates peeled from the wall. Dust motes hovered in sickly light. I turned to speak, but the screen went black. Then, look. The words hovered in the center of the window, typed one letter at a time. My pulse raced. I tried to stand, but my legs refused. A folder icon appeared. I hesitated, then clicked. Inside, a single file named Home. I opened it. Live video feed. Home turned haunted. My own house filled the frame. Camera perched at an impossible height in the corner of the ceiling. I recognized the layout. Every family photo, every framed diploma. Then the lens panned slowly toward me. I sat frozen before my monitor. My eyes widened. A hand reached toward me from the darkness on screen. My hand, I cried out, and the video cut. The screen went white, then flickered, revealing a new image. Me, unconscious, lying in a charred room, flames devouring everything around. I slammed my fist against the desk. "Stop. Show me who you are." Her laughter echoed through the speakers. "You'll see me soon enough." Fractured identity, I staggered back, mind reeling. If she could manipulate my files, invade my home, and rewrite my memories, what was left of Adrian Vale? I thought of my daughter's laugh, my wife's warm smile. Were those real, or were they illusions? Two fabrications to keep me tethered. I sank into my chair, closing my eyes. I let the darkness envelop me, searching for a foothold in my sanity. When I opened them, the screen was blank. The candle had burned halfway down, and on the desk lay a single match, its tip blackened as if already struck. A whisper of resolve. Breath trembled as I picked up the match, feeling its weight. I didn't know whether it signified an end or a beginning, yet beneath the chaos in my mind, a stubborn ember glowed. "I will reclaim my life." I pressed the match's head against the strike strip on the box, sparks dancing. "Show yourself," I whispered, voice hoarse but unbroken. The room plunged into darkness. I arranged my study as though preparing for a courtroom showdown. The desk cleared, save for my laptop and the flickering candle. Surrounding me on the walls were pinned photographs and notes, my version of evidence against her. The Harlow teddy. Bear the Polaroid of my daughter, snippets from confession.docx, and even the live feed screenshot of my own house. I paced in a tight circle, reciting what I'd say. "Show yourself. Admit your name. Explain." My voice sounded brittle in the cavernous silence. At 9:50 p.m. I flicked off every light except the candle. Shadows leaped across the walls. My heart thundered beneath my ribs. 9:59 p.m. I clicked connect. The screen stayed dark until, at 10:02 p.m., a single word appeared in white text. "Welcome." I inhaled. I brought proof. "Proof is subjective," her voice replied, disembodied. The trap. I pressed a key. The screen split. On one side, our live call. On the other, the home feed from the camera I'd installed in my ceiling. My pulse hammered. "Look," I said, voice measured. You can't deny it anymore." She was silent. Then the home feed shimmered, and for an instant, I saw her pale features framed by dark strands of hair, her eyes black voids. The image flickered and vanished. I clicked my mouse, magnifying the feed. "Who are you?" Her voice softened. "I am the echoes of your sins." A laugh hollow and cruel filled the room. Forced revelation, enough riddles. I clenched my jaw. "Reveal yourself now, or I end this." On screen, the home feed rewound. Flames engulfed the foyer, then, slowed, revealing my wife's silhouette in the smoke, her hair loose, reaching for me. The candle's glow cast dancing embers across her face. My breath caught. "Is that Eliza?" Her voice cracked like ice. She remembers. Eliza was my wife's name. I felt bile rise. "Stop toying with me." She whispered, "You tried." To save her, I slammed my fist on the desk. "Tell me what happened." The breaking point, the home feed froze on my daughter's face, size wide. Tears streaming, the rope's fibers digging into her skin. The candle behind me guttered. The flame bent as though pushed by an unseen wind. "I remember," I choked out. "I remember." The feed shifted again, showing me dragging a limp body from the burning room, cradling it like a mourning father. But the body was indistinct, an echo of flesh and cloth. Her voice broke into my thoughts. "You left them." "No," I sobbed. "I tried." Screens around the call window blinked to life, each displaying fragments of my past case. Arson, a battered child rescued too late, a mutilated victim whose killer I misidentified. The robotic glow of the monitors cast my face in ghastly relief. "You buried the truth to protect yourself," she said. Ultimate confrontation, I arose, trembling. "You're nothing but a manifestation of my guilt." A cold gust swept the room. Papers flew. The candle went out, plunging me into near darkness, save for the laptop's glow. On the home feed, the camera panned. The burning room appeared once more, now in color, bright oranges and reds. And there, standing amid the flames, was a child's figure, flaming curls haloed by fire. She turned, her eyes locked with mine through the screen. "Eliza," I whispered, voice raw. Her distorted smile split her face. I survived. My throat closed. If Eliza had survived the fire, then everything I'd believed was a lie. I sank to my knees. Tears and sweat mingled on my cheeks. Why? Why didn't I remember? Because remembering hurts. The aftermath of truth silence settled. The screens went blank, one by one, until only I remained bathed in the pale glow of the laptop. Candle snuffed. I reached out and touched the screen. "I'm sorry," I whispered into the silent room. And then, as if in response, a single line of text appeared. "Forgive me." My vision blurred. My world trembled on a knife's edge between redemption and collapse. Lightning cracked across the sky as I staggered to my feet, the thunder's roar echoing the turmoil in my mind. My study felt alive, creaking floorboards, flickering monitors, and a low hum in my skull, like a choir of distant screams. I pressed my palm to the laptop's keyboard, determined to wrest the truth from its mocked-up windows. The home feed reappeared, static dancing in electric arcs. Through the interference, I saw her Alice alive, but changed. Her hair blackened by soot, eyes hollow yet shimmering with tears. "Why?" I rasped into the darkness. She tilted her head, lips trembling. "You left me." A jagged pain shot through my chest. "I tried to save you both." My voice cracked like glass. "I remember you now, your laugh in the morning, your tiny hand in mine. How could I forget? Her image flickered. You chose logic over love. The ultimate test. The room's temperature plummeted. My breath curled in the air. Screens around me blinked on, each showing a different memory. My first day in graduate school. A smile from my mother, my daughter's first steps. On each, a shadowy figure lurked just beyond the frame, unseen until now. Me, but older, eyes vacant. I realized then I'd been haunting myself. The unseen caller wasn't an external demon, but the echo of my own guilt, given voice. I fell to my knees. Is this me? I choked out. My subconscious, her form shimmered. Your mind needed a witness. The candle's last flicker died. Total darkness swallowed the study. Yet I sensed her close breathing, waiting, breaking the chains. I closed my eyes, focusing inward. Memories cascaded, yielding to Harlow's pleas, misjudging a battered victim's testimony, the snap of beams collapsing around Elisa's room. And then the worst memory. I'd survived, but in saving myself, I pulled the rope only part way, leaving Elisa's small body pinned. I dragged her from the flames, but too late. Her eyes wide with betrayal as life faded. I gasped, pain and shame intertwining. I'm sorry, I whispered, voice raw. I forgive you. A soft light pulsed in the darkness. Her form re-emerged, face serene, half in shadow. Tears glowed on her cheeks, yet her expression held peace. I forgive me, I continued, tears streaming. I forgive us both. Her image softened, then gradually dissolved into particles of light that drifted upward, toward a ceiling that reopened above me, revealing a star-filled sky. The monitors blinked off, one by one, until only my heartbeat remained. The shattered mirror. When I opened my eyes, I was in the hallway, leaning against the wall. The study door hung open, monitors dark and silent. The Polaroid of the flaming house lay on the floor, unburned. I stood uneasily whole for the first time in weeks. The echo of her goodbye whispered in my mind. Live. I stepped into the study, brushing dust from the desk. The laptop lay closed. I powered it down completely. I gathered the scattered photographs and notes, piling them in a box labeled memories. As I carried it toward the fireplace, my old childhood hearth eye hesitated. I struck a match. The flame danced briefly, as if recognizing me. I touched the box's edge to the fire and watched the paper curl, smoke rising. A fragile rebirth. I sank into the desk chair, hands clasped, eyes closed. The storm had passed. My mind still ached, but the thunder had quieted. The unseen caller was gone, yet in her place lay the raw, unfiltered truth that I was both victim and victimizer, savior and sinner. When I finally opened my eyes, dawn's pale light seeped through the blinds. My reflection in the dark screen looked back, unflinching. I whispered to the empty room, "Thank you." 3 weeks later, the calendar on my office wall was pristine. No scrawled notes, no unsent emails, just a tidy grid reminding me to breathe. I returned to work, all records cleared, routine re-established. Colleagues remarked on my calm demeanor. Patients praised my focus. But beneath my composed exterior, a faint tremor persisted. A single question echoed in my thoughts. Was it truly over? The new normal. My study felt empty without the nightly calls. I replaced the candle with a desk lamp and rearranged the books, this time leaving no gaps. The Polaroid box lay buried in the fireplace ashes. I kept the matchbox, though its strike strip pristine, untouched since the night of the climax. I recorded my first lecture in months, understanding the unconscious when memory betrays us. My voice was smooth, authoritative, yet as I spoke about repression, I felt her presence, a cold whisper at my back letting me know she was listening. I ended the lecture early and logged off. My reflection in the black screen watched me, expression unreadable. I forced a polite smile and shut the lid. A glimpse of the unseen that evening, I dined alone at home. The meal was simple grilled fish and steamed vegetables, but I tasted only ash. The silence felt heavy, as though the walls awaited a return guest. At 10 p.m., on impulse, I opened my laptop. My finger hovered over connect. I hesitated then, closed it. My breath steadied. No more sessions, I told myself. I leaned back. The room was still. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw a movement. The flame of an unseen candle flickered behind me. I spun nothing. My heartbeat thudded. I faced the blank wall. The final twist, I rose and paced toward the window, pulling aside the curtain. The street below was empty, bathed in lamplight. A soft chime sounded from my laptop. Reluctantly, I opened it. On the desktop was a single file. Session 1, a video recording. Puzzled, I double-clicked. The playback began. 0 o'clock. The screen was black. 0:10. My voice calm. Dr. Vale here. Session 1. 0:15. Laughter mine, deeper. Almost inhuman. 0:18. A low whistle, then her voice whispering, "You forgot again." 0:22. The frame glowed, my study, exactly as it is now, lamp on empty desk. 0:25. A fleeting figure in the background, pale hair, hollow eyes. 0:27. The figure looked directly into the camera, mouthing, "Remember." 0:28. The file ended. My blood ran cold. I never recorded that. I never enabled my webcam. There was no session 1 until just now. I closed the laptop with shaking hands. The matchbox beside it had one match missing, its head snapped clean. Whisper drifted through the room, indistinct yet unmistakable. "You'll see me soon enough." I stood motionless, the laptop's final glow fading. The boundary between memory and reality had blurred once more, and I realized, with a chill that sank to my bones, this story never truly ends.